Welcome back, fellow gamer. I want to talk to you today about my top 5 mass removal spells in Magic the Gathering for Commander. So let's jump right in. Now, it's important to note right from the get-go that this list is highly subjective. These are my top 5. You might have a completely different top 5, and I'm going to encourage you to share your top 5 in the description below, because we probably will share some similarities, but guaranteed your top 5 will look completely different. There are just so many mass removal spells in Magic the Gathering that I'm going to leave a favorite out. I'm going to leave a very situational card out. One of the ones that I left out right from the get-go was in Garruk's Wake. I actually, and yes, it's Garruk. I go through this every time I say his name. It's situational. It's actually my top card. It's my top card, but I can see why, and I'll give you an explanation as to why it's not there. Because it's 9 mana, and at that point, it might be too late. So I did, while it's my top and my favorite, it's not the top that I consider for practicality. So with that said, let's jump in. Number 5 is Wrath of God / Damnation. Yeah, I'm going to bunch them together because Damnation is the color-shifted card of Wrath of God during Planar Chaos. It's great. I mean, 4 mana, getting around creatures that might have regenerate, so really send them to the graveyard if they aren't indestructible, and they don't have a way of coming back with regeneration, so I like that. And again, 4 mana, you can't go wrong. At number 4, though, I have Maelstrom Pulse. Now this here is for that token deck that you just want to get rid of, or maybe it's in a case of somebody playing Progenitor Mimic, and then just getting rid of all those extra clone copies that come out. I just don't like having a bunch of the same thing running around in Commander. It's Singleton, and I'm going to keep it that way. At number 3, we have Terminus. Playing it for its miracle cost is a bonus in itself, but the fact that you're tucking everything onto the bottom of the library is where I really like this. It gets around those indestructible guys, and it really stops graveyard recursion. I like that. I like that a lot. But it's important to note that that also gets rid of your side of the board. I like my side of the board to stay intact. That's why Cyclonic Rift is at number 2. Really bouncing everything back to your opponent's hand. If you time it right, it'll be game over. And really, you can't mess with that kind of thing. If they don't have a counter spell, they're not going to be able to beat you. Like, it's really, unless they've got some other trick up their sleeve where you're not doing any damage that turn, or you're able to combo off without worrying of another main phase on their side that really gets them into position to kill you, because they're going to have to cast everything again. Odds are they're not going to be able to afford it. So it's good. It's good. I like it. Obviously in blue, it's good. You don't really have that many removal spells. You have a lot of bounce, but mass bouncing, that's where this card shines. For number 1, though, number 1 is All Is Dust. Now, getting around getting around indestructible by having them sacrifice their stuff is a great way of going about it. It's important to note that you sacrifice your stuff too. You might be wondering why it's number 1, because if you look at it, we are not really dealing with something permanently. They're being sacrificed. If there's a recursion type theme in the opponent's deck, chances are they'll be able to bring things back out onto the battlefield. However, the reason why All Is Dust is number 1 is that it's colorless, so it really can slot into any deck. It's that reset button that you need to really give yourself maybe an extra few turns to really get going again. If you think that you're able to mount that attack, and in colors that might not have those mass removal spells, so if you're not playing white or black, you might be a bit starved for mass removal. Yeah, red and blue do have a bit. Green doesn't really have that much unless you're playing with black and white. So that really helps out the colors that might be a bit weaker, and I really like the sacrificing effect. But not only that, if you're playing a lot of colorless spells or a lot of colorless creatures, you're going to get that aspect where your stuff's going to be able to hit, obviously thematically, fit in with the Eldrazi. But more than that, like, just, again, I mentioned creatures, but your artifacts will stay intact. Yeah, the artifacts that your opponent have probably will stay intact as well, but you're really setting yourself up in a position to succeed. So there you have it. Those are my top 5 mass removal spells for Commander. Let me know what yours are in the comments below. In the meantime, though, if you'd like to check out some of my other videos, you can do that right over there. And if you'd like to subscribe, which helps the channel out, you can do that right there. It also lets you know when we upload new content. I'd like to thank you for making me a part of your day. And until next time, good gaming.